Hi, today I'm doing something a bit different. I'm going to refurbish this old table. I've had this table for many years. I usually sit at this table when I need to cut something, or glue something, or build something. And I don't always cover the tabletop before I start a new project. And you can see the result of that right here. It has marks, it has scratches, it has dents, it has glue residue, and simply put, it's seen better days. But it's a good sized table and I didn't really want to throw it away, and that's why I decided to refurbish it instead. A quick and fairly cheap way of fixing a scratched tabletop is to cover it in wallpaper, and then apply a few layers of clear coat on top of it. This will leave a shiny surface that's fairly easy to clean, and it will be at least semi-resistant to dents and scratches. And that's the method we will be using in this video. Before we get started, we need to gather some materials and tools that we need for the project. First and foremost, we need some wallpaper. I picked this wooden looking wallpaper, cause I thought it would look good here in the living room. And also it was on sale. Mostly because it was on sale. We need some kind of measuring device, a sharp knife, I'm gonna use this box cutter with a fresh blade, a scraper, preferably one with a metal tip, some sandpaper of different grits and a sanding block, a paint roller to spread the glue. I bought the one with the trough, but for a small project like this, I'm probably not gonna end up using the trough. I'm just gonna pour the glue directly on the table. Some kind of plastic or rubber scraper to smooth out the wallpaper and force air pockets out, wallpaper glue, and a can of clear coat. With all the things secured, let's start working on the table. I start by disassembling it. This table has a shelf under the top and this needs to be removed. Luckily it was only one screw on each leg, so that was a quick job. Next, the legs need to go. On this table they were screwed directly onto the top slab, so it was just a matter of turning them counterclockwise to remove them. With those things out of the way, we can start to work on the tabletop. First step is to remove all the glue residue and other loose stuff that has gathered on the surface over the years. For this I used a scraper with a metal tip. Once that is done, I switch to sandpaper. And the main goal here is to rough up the surface in order to get the wallpaper glue to grip the surface better. As you can see, I'm not that bothered in which direction I sand it, since it will not show through the wallpaper anyway. And I stop sanding when there are no shiny spots left and the whole surface feels rough to the touch. And I also turned the table over and sanded the edges, like 1 or 2 inches. This is because I will fold the wallpaper over the edge and onto the bottom, and this will hopefully increase the grip. Also, it might be a good idea to wipe the table down with a wet cloth after you're finished sanding to get rid of all the dust. Now we need to plan how to lay the wallpaper. This tabletop is 55 cm times 90 cm, and it's 5 cm high. The wallpaper roll is 53.5 cm wide. This means that we will have to make at least one seam. And in this case I decided to place the seam along the center, lengthwise. I will then fold the wallpaper around the edge and over to the bottom. And I would like the fold to have the same margin along all sides on the bottom. So how do we achieve that? Well, if we start with the length, we know that the table is 90 cm long in this direction, and we know that the height is 5 cm. After deciding how much of a margin we want on the bottom, it's easy to calculate how long the wallpaper pieces need to be. And I've decided on a margin of 8 cm. So the formula for the length will be 5 times 2 plus 8 times 2 plus 90. And that equals 116 centimeters. So now we can go ahead and cut 2 pieces of wallpaper to that length. Next we need to calculate how much we need to cut away in the other direction. The wallpaper pieces are, like I mentioned, 53.5 cm wide, and they are going to be placed side by side, which makes for a total width of 107 cm. The tabletop is 55 cm wide. The edge is 5 cm wide and the desired margin is still 8 cm wide. So the desired total width comes out to 55 plus 5 times 2 plus 8 times 2, which is 81 centimeters. So if we subtract the desired width from the current width of the wallpaper, we are left with 26 centimeters. But we can't just cut away 26 centimeters from one of the wallpaper pieces. That will leave the seam to one side of the table. So to center the seam we need to divide that by 2 and cut away that much, 13 centimeters in this case, from each wallpaper piece. So now that we have all the numbers, we can get to cutting. I started by transferring the measurements to the wallpaper using a pen and a ruler. Kind of dotting out the line. I then used the table as a ruler to draw the final line. This is to make sure everything is straight. Once all the lines are down, we can start cutting away. It would probably be better to use a knife for this, but a pair of scissors works just as well. The next step is to apply the glue. But before we do, we draw a line along the center. This will make it easier to find later. I also took the time to cover my floor with some newspaper. Hopefully this will stop some of the glue from getting everywhere. I also placed some blocks for the table to rest on. This will make it easier to reach all the edges. With that done, we take out the glue and the roller. I apply some glue to the surface and start to work it out evenly. I know that you normally apply the glue to the wallpaper and let it soak for a while before hanging it, but for a small project like this, it's way easier to just apply the glue directly to the surface and place the wallpaper onto it. The corners and edges will also be much easier to work with. And when the top is done, I move on to the edges. Once the glue is spread evenly on all the surfaces, we take out our first piece of wallpaper. And this first piece is going to be the trickiest. Here I'm aligning it along the center. I also make sure that the markings I made on the wallpaper matches up with the edge. It can take a few attempts to get it right. And some minor adjustments can be made even after the wallpaper has been laid out. And if minor adjustments won't cut it, we can always lift the wallpaper again and carefully replace it. When I have the placement roughly right, I use the scraper to push the wallpaper down evenly. This will also help drive out any trapped air. Once I'm happy with the fitment on the top, I start to work the edges. I fold the wallpaper down along the first edge and work this shape a bit. When I get to the corner, it's time for some trimming. And this is going to be the plan here. As you saw, I folded the wallpaper along this edge first. Next we're going to cut it in this pattern. And then I'm going to fold the small tab in over the edge. And then I fold this remaining wallpaper over that. I start by cutting it here, all the way into the table. Then I make the vertical cut, and this will kind of determine the length of the tab. Now I trim the bottom of the tab, and work it into the glue. The rest will be cut away once the table is turned over. And some more glue needs to be applied here between the layers. Then I work the corner until I'm happy with the result. I then move on to the edge on the long side. When I reach the other corner, I will repeat the corner process I showed you a second ago. So the first piece is down, and let's move on to the second piece. I start by putting it up against the first piece. And I also make sure that the marking is along the edge. Once I'm happy with the center line, I once again take out the scraper and work the rest down. And I'm kind of working from the center and outward here. I then repeat the process you saw on the other side. I work the edges and then the corners one at a time. And when all sides and corners are done, we can flip the table over. I start by applying some glue here on the outside edge of the bottom. Once the glue is evenly spread along the edge, we can start to fold the wallpaper inwards. I make some last minute adjustments along the way. And then I cut off the last excess piece of wallpaper. And once again we need to apply some more glue here between the layers. And make sure I have enough on the surface. Then I fold the last piece over and work it until I'm happy with the fitment. Then we move on to the other side and do the same thing there. Now it needs to be left to dry. The drying time depends on the glue, and according to the label on this particular brand, it should be left to dry for 48 hours. So 48 hours has passed and we can finally lay down the clear coat. Unfortunately, I could not film this part since I had to go outside for this. But it's not really rocket surgery. You take the can, you shake it like a madman, take off the lid and you spray a thin layer. You let it cure for a bit and you lay down a second layer. Let it cure for a bit, lay down a third layer. Let it cure for a bit and so on. I think in the end I made something like 5 passes before I was happy. And you can see the result right here. A shiny, even coat of clear. So now all that's left really is reassembly. The legs go on first. Then the bottom shelf. And we turn it over. And voila! One cruddy table from IKEA has been refurbished. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked the video. And if you would like to see more crafty content and crochet tutorials, feel free to subscribe. Until next time, stay safe. Bye!